with one of my grandfather's favorite songs. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavala Girivara Dari Gopi Janavala Girivara Dari Yashodanandana Braja Jananandana Yashodanandana Braja Jananandana Yashodanandana Braja Jananandana Jamuna Tira Vanakari Jamuna Tira Vanakari Jamuna Kira Vanakari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna, 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 Hare, Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, 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 Hare, Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare, Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Let me share the screen. Oopsie. Sorry, I had the verse up and it went away. Let me just pull that up. Sharing. Sharing is caring. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Grantharaj, the king of all books, Canto 11, Chapter 3, Verse 22. Tatra Bhagavatam Dharma Shiksha Guravatam Devataha Amayanu Tushe Atman Madokarihi. Translation and purport by those illustrious, wonderful disciples of Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada and the disciples Ki Jai. Accepting the bona fide spiritual master as one's life and soul and worshipable deity, the disciples should learn from him the process of pure devotional service. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, the soul of all souls, is inclined to give himself to his pure devotees. Therefore, the disciples should learn from the spiritual master to serve the Lord without duplicity and in such a faithful and favorable way that the Supreme Lord, being satisfied, will offer himself to the faithful disciple. As we've been finding in this canto, this purport is on the longer side. It's not super long, but I'm going to read it all for two reasons. One, the spirit of this and yesterday's verses is about the disciple taking one spiritual master as the one's life and soul. And when we read this, and I forget who it was that told us this a couple of weeks ago, the reasons these are so long, these were some of the first verses that the disciples of Srila Prabhupada commented on after he left his body, left this planet. And so can you almost feel, and I feel they're pouring out, this is my worshipful master. I want to honor him. So for that spirit, I want to read it all. And also what they have to say is always going to be better than what I have to say. So here we go. According to Srila Sridhar Swami, the Lord's tendency to give himself to his pure devotee is demonstrated in the case of Bali Maharaj, who sacrificed his universal kingdom for the pleasure of Lord Vamanadev. Lord Vamana was so pleased by the selfless surrender of Bali Maharaj that the Lord became the doorman in the palace of Bali, who was reestablished as a great leader in the universe. Srila Jiva Goswami comments that the spiritual master is to be considered the Atman, or the very life of the disciple, since real life begins when one is initiated by a bona fide spiritual master. Although one may experience many seemingly wonderful or important events in a dream, one's real life begins when he wakes up. Similarly, since the spiritual master gives birth to the disciple by awakening him to spiritual life, a bona fide disciple understands that a spiritual master is the very basis of his life. According to Srila Jiva Goswami, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the reservoir of all pleasure, and thus the Lord's giving himself to a pure devotee indicates that such a devotee becomes immersed in the highest possible ecstasy. In this connection, there is the following. Indeed, it is from the all blissful Supreme that all creatures have come into being. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has further pointed out that when the Lord bestows himself upon a pure devotee, such a fortunate devotee can actually see the Lord, touch him, and directly engage in his service. According to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, one should never consider one's spiritual master to be mundane or on an equal level with oneself. One should see the spiritual master as being always under the shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. One should never try to engage the spiritual master in one's personal service with the mentality of lording it over the spiritual master and attaining through him some material gain. One who is actually advancing will become more and more eager to serve the spiritual master, and thus such a disciple experiences the pleasure of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Srila Rupa Goswami has delineated 4 preliminary requisites for advancement for the sincere disciple. 1, accepting the shelter of the lotus feet of a bona fide spiritual master. 2, becoming initiated by the spiritual master and learning how to discharge devotional service from him. 3, obeying the orders of the spiritual master with faith and devotion. And 4, following in the footsteps of the great acharyas under the direction of the spiritual master. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1-74. One who has executed these preliminary duties is qualified to relish Srimad Bhagavatam. When one actually hears the sound vibration of Srimad Bhagavatam as it is, he becomes free from the desire for sense gratification and mental speculation and is happy and satisfied in the service of Lord Krishna. Simply by giving oral reception to Srimad Bhagavatam, the feeling for loving devotional service to Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, sprouts up at once to extinguish the fire of lamentation, illusion, and fearfulness. One should hear Srimad Bhagavatam from a bona fide spiritual master who can expertly engage propensity for loving Krishna that arises from hearing the transcendental sound of the Bhagavatam. Such a transcendental authorized engagement is called Bhagavat Dharma. Within the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, there are many thousands of authorized engagements pertaining to the society's missionary activities. And by hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam and performing such engagements, the society's members feel relieved from lamentation, illusion, and fear. According to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, those who have achieved a mature understanding of the transcendental sound vibration of Srimad Bhagavatam may adopt the order of Tridandi Sannyas, as described in Hamsa Gita, the 13th chapter of this canto. A so-called Vaishnav who whimsically neglects the strict control of the body, mind, and speech cannot actually achieve shelter at the lotus feet of a bona fide spiritual master. Even if such a whimsical sense enjoyer makes a show of assuming the dress and danda of Vaishnav sannyas, he will not attain the desired result, love of Krishna. A bona fide Vaishnav should work earnestly to free himself from any tinge of sense gratification and mental speculation. And with a loving heart, he should carry out the orders of his bona fide spiritual master by always remembering the exalted position of the bona fide spiritual master. The disciple will achieve shelter at the lotus feet of Krishna. Om Gyana Timaranda Shachinanjanan Shalakaya Takshurmi Tamnina Tasmai Shri Gurudev Namaha Vanchakopa Tarupa Chakripa Sindhueva Chapatitan Pavanevyo Vaishnavi No Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nitananda Shri Advaita Gadada Shri Vasudha Gauda Bhaktivinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. And one more time, just the verse. Accepting the bona fide spiritual masters as one's life and soul and worshipable deity, the disciple should learn from him the process of pure devotional service. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, the soul of all souls, is inclined to give himself to his pure devotees. Therefore, the disciple should learn from the spiritual master to serve the Lord without duplicity and in such a faithful and favorable way that the Supreme Lord, being satisfied, will offer himself to the faithful disciple. Again, I pray for your blessings, and please forgive my mistakes. There's an old musical called A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum, which I didn't see the wonderful Christmas pantomime, but I saw a clip of it, and I see Amrita Krishuri sang a song that was like actually a takeoff from that show. And the show is called A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum. And I wanted to start off. A funny thing happened on the way to this verse today, in this class today. You see, Wednesdays, I'm always here with you, but you probably never noticed, but right about now, 7:30, I log out. Yes, because my spiritual master, and Henry knows this, and Donna Cayley and some others, because my spiritual master gives a class at 7:30 on Zoom. So I quickly go over to my spiritual master. And this month, when Ananda Bihari sent, would you like to give class? I haven't given it a long time. And the only reason I give class, because it does, as Leela said on Monday, it does terrify me. But the reason I signed up to give class is because long ago, my spiritual master looked me dead in the eye and he said, Jamuna Jaya, taste and distribute. Taste and distribute. So even though it terrifies me, I do put my name down. But then I looked and was like, oh my God, the only day I could do this month, and I haven't done it for so long, is a Wednesday. It's the last day of the year. Would it not be inauspicious for me to not be in my guru's class on the last day of the year? But would it not be? But which is less auspicious? Not like doing his order, which is taste and distribute. So I wrote him an email, and I said, Mirage, I had this opportunity to take class, but it would mean me missing a lot of class. And he wrote me back an email, and he said, Jamuna Jaya, your service to the Bhakti Center is your service to me. You represent me there. Go give the class. You can always be late. And so I want to mention that because that is the spirit of the last two beautiful verses that we've been reading. The spiritual master's instructions are not to be taken lightly. And so I'm going to try to honor him and quote him, quite frankly, as often as I can. So I was thinking about this verse as sort of like a map. And because I have a very childlike mind, I was thinking about the map that's like in the game Monopoly. There's a starting point, and then it zigs and it zags. And I feel like the starting point, and really the starting point for all of us, is this thing, this faith, this bhakti lata bij that got planted in us in some way. That's why we're all here. In the Nectar of Devotion, it's written that the only way we got this, and I love this, is that at some time, even unknowingly, we served someone who had bhakti. And because we served it, that seed was planted in us. And that seed never goes away. It stays there. It's not a seed that will go bad. Krishna tells us in the Bhagavad Gita, on this path, there is no loss or diminution, right? And so that's the seed of it. And Krishna also says in one of the famous eggshell verses, he says, to show them special mercy, I, dwelling in their hearts, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. So once that seed, the beginning of this journey is in it, Krishna sees that, because Krishna wants this journey to begin. And how does he shine that lamp? And we probably, most of us heard that expression, like all we have to do is like open up the door. Gurudev always quotes, and I think it's Prajumna. I think Prajumna said, Krishna is responsive. Krishna is responsive. He sees, even if it's the tiniest little crack in the door, and he responds. He wants to light that lamp within us. And how's he do it? He sends Guru. We know that expression. When we're ready, Krishna sends Guru. And then what happens? Guru gives us Krishna. And isn't it so wonderful that Srila Prabhupada, like if you hang with Srila Prabhupada's program, by the time it is 8:30 in the morning, you have glorified the spiritual master so many times. What happens in Mangalarti? I'll never forget my surprise when I went to my first Mangalarti, and I'm struggling with the Sanskrit, looking at the papers. They said, "Oh, we're singing about Krishna." But then when I looked at the words, Vande Gurushi, Shananana Vrinda, I'm like, oh, what am I saying here? And let's remind ourselves. I'm just going to read two parts of it in English. The spiritual master is to be honored as much as the Supreme Lord, because he is the most confidential servitor of the Lord. This is acknowledged in all revealed scriptures and followed by all authorities. And then it ends with saying, by the mercy of the spiritual master, one receives the benediction of Krishna. Without the grace of the spiritual master, one cannot make any advancement. Therefore, I should always remember and praise the spiritual master at least 3 times a day. I should offer my respectful obeisances onto the lotus feet of the spiritual master. And then I remember we were talking the other day of like, when you're really into it, when the words like what to speak of, or similarly, or phantasmagoria just fall out of your mouth. And I remember the day that all of a sudden I could just say, "Oh my God, because I knew it, because I heard it over and over again. How many times do we say, I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances again and again unto him." Right after this class, what will we say? My spiritual master is the only way by which we can attain pure devotional service. I bow down to his lotus feet again and again. Through his grace, one can cross over the ocean of material suffering and attain the mercy of Krishna. I love Arananda Mandri, our little angel, hasn't given class so often. She brought to us, and I meditate on this a lot, the poet of Surdas, giving praise to the spiritual master. He writes in this way: I offer my obeisances to my spiritual master, who gave me beautiful kantimala, effluent tilak, the beautiful form of a devotee, and who offered me his shelter. In one of his hands, he is holding my hand, and in his other hand, he is holding the lamp of knowledge, which helps me to cross over the dark ocean of the material world. Surdas says, my guru deserves the greatest respect because only he can rescue one in the blink of an eye. I bow to him again and again. In the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, and therefore in the Nectar of Devotion, it is laid out the 64 practices of bhakti. And then right after that, Rupa Goswami my guru says, gives evidence. He gives evidence of these practices. And what is the first evidence he gives? First and second, he gives accepting a spiritual master, and step two, taking initiation from him. Right now, I have the great pleasure of reading the Brihad Bhagavatam in two different venues. One is with several devotees, and Jaya is one of them. And also, my guru is also giving classes on it. And in the second book, we see this wonderful journey of Gopakumar, who just has this love in his heart, and is so innocent that I love the part he doesn't even know who Lord Brahma is. He's sort of like, hey, who's the dude with four heads riding on a swan? But because he follows his guru's instructions, because he makes his guru his life and soul and worshipable deity, we see him get elevated to the higher planets, eventually at one point becoming Lord Brahma himself. It says in the Nectar of Devotion, one should learn the Srimad Bhagavatam seriously, with all respect and veneration for the spiritual master. And when we think about the what we learn from the spiritual master, and in this verse, it talks about the spiritual. We should go to the spiritual master and learn the processes of devotional service. And we all know them now: hearing, chanting, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I'd like just to read them in a different way for a second, because to think what we would not know if not for the spiritual master. Without the spiritual master, hearing is the first of these practices, right? We would not know about this book. We would not know about the Srimad Bhagavatam that contains literally everything. That is God. Like last week when Madhuri was giving the class, he said, when the star has left the planet, when Krishna's left the planet, what did he leave behind? He left behind himself in the book. We wouldn't know that. We wouldn't hear these things without the spiritual master. Without the spiritual master, what's the next process? Kirtan and chanting. We would not know. I would not know these holy names. That God is so kind, that he makes it so easy to connect with him. Other time periods, there were yajnas and things like that. We would not know the power of those three words, Hare, Krishna, and Rama. We would not know that God is non-different from his name. Without the spiritual master, we would not know this process of remembering. That every time I take a sip of water, that I can remember God because he is the taste of water. Every opulence, I can be reminded of God. Without the spiritual master, we would not know that Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, her opulence is not the things. It's what is she doing? She serves the lotus feet of her beloved, of God. Without the spiritual master, deity worship, it wouldn't make sense at all. We wouldn't understand that God is so kind that he enters into these forms, that we are so lucky. He gives us away every Tuesday night. I have the honor of my lifetime to be able to bring food to God when I do my deity service. We would not know otherwise. Well, they're pretty, but what's the dolls doing up there? We would not understand that this is God giving us opportunity to serve him directly. Without the spiritual master, we would not understand the beautiful prayers that are in the books of Bhakti Vinod Thakur, the prayers of Queen Kunti, and of course, the example of prayers of Kura. I always think, if you think your boss is not very nice, then look at Akura's boss. But his prayers of faith, we would not know this. We would not know, without the spiritual master, we would not know that when you get initiation, the most important part of your name is your last name. Das, helper, servant. That is the most important part of the name. Without the spiritual master, we would not know Sakyam. God is friend. How many times in the Bhagavad Gita does Krishna call himself Arjuna's friend? That Krishna isn't some guy in a cloud that stands back. He is active in our lives. And without the spiritual master, we would not know of the thing of surrender. That's what it is. That the surrender isn't, as my guru Dave says, isn't a bayonet in your back going, I give up. It's a child lifting up their arms and saying, please take me. And the person that we lift up our arms to wants to take us, and as it says, is a worshipful deity. And so I got to go a little faster. I'm probably going to give only 10 minutes because I got a lot to say. So I'll go a little faster. But we all know that the exemplar of surrender is Bali Maharaj. And isn't it like literally Bali had the world? He literally had the world and he gave it up. He is the example. It's not like he gave away like a car. He gave the whole world. And when he gave the whole world, what happened? Krishna gave himself. And so now in this little like roadmap, we see the Bhakti Lata Beach where we start. We see that Krishna gives the spiritual master to light the lamp and leads us on these devotional practices, ending with this Krishna, I am yours, like Bali Maharaj shows us. But then an interesting happens. Krishna, seeing the Krishna, I'm yours, Krishna says, wait a minute, I cannot repay you. I, Krishna, have to give myself to you. He gives himself, he becomes the doorman of Bali. He's the charioteer of Arjuna. He lets Mother Yashoda bind him. As Lord Ram, he says, Hanuman, I cannot repay you. And we all know who the people are he gives himself to most because they have given themselves to him the most, the gopis. I'd like to read just a tiny bit of, oh, did I lose it? Oh, but I threw that paper on the floor because it gets, oh no, here it is. So when he plays his flute in the Rasa Leela, listen to what they do. Some of the gopis were milking cows when they heard Krishna's flute. They stopped milking and went off to meet him. Some left milk curdling on the stove, and others left cakes burning in the oven. Some of them were getting dressed, feeding milk to their infants, or rendering personal service to their husbands. But they gave up all these duties and went to meet Krishna. Other gopis were taking their evening meals, washing themselves, putting on cosmetics, or applying kajal to their eyes. But all the gopis stopped all these activities at once. And though their clothes and ornaments were in complete disarray, rushed off to Krishna. They run to him. They give all. And then Krishna dances with them. And then when he disappears, they grow desperate. They say, oh, they talk to the deer. Oh, friend, wife of the deer, has Lord Achyuta been here with his beloved, bringing great joy to your eyes? Indeed, blowing his way is the fragrance of his garland of kunda flowers, which was smeared with the kumkum from the breast of his girlfriend when he embraced her. They go mad. And Krishna sees this. And what else can he do? This concept makes me think of something that we read about in the nectar of two things that we read about in the nectar of devotion. Surdulabha and Krishna Karchini. Surdulabha means that bhakti is difficult to achieve. It's not easily achieved for two reasons. One, we can't do it alone because prema bhakti is love. And you can't make someone love you. Love has to be given. We know this in a person. You can try all you want, but you can't make somebody love you. So it's difficult. You can't do it alone. And then the other reason that's given is Krishna is reluctant to give it. Because why? In his book, I forget which one it is, Living the Life of Bhakti, either one or two, Mahatma Das writes in the scene, I remember when I read it, my heart dropped. It says, you made it. You made it to the spiritual world after lifetimes. And you see Krishna walking towards you. He's smiling, but then he looks a little quizzical. And when he gets right up to you, he says, I don't know if I can trust you. And when I read that, I was like, oh, Krishna, you're right. I'm sketchy. You're right. Maybe you shouldn't trust me. Krishna wants to give the love. He really wants to give the love, but am I at this place of surrender? I will never be worthy of it. But have I done the work behind it? So because something happens, my Guru Dev always says this, if you give yourself to someone, If you give yourself to someone, they could do two things. They could either serve you very well or they can manipulate you. And so Krishna's not he's because he knows he is owned by it. He's owned by it if he gives it. So, not gonna be so he wants to give it, but gotta be cautious. And the other thing is Krishna Karshini. It means it is the bhakti is the thing that attracts him. We get played by the flute, but he's attracted by this love, as we see with the gopis, because what he says is after he sees the madness, this mad love that they have, he ultimately says, I'm not able to repay my debt for your spotless service, even within a lifetime of Brahma. Your connection with me is beyond reproach. You have worshiped me, cutting off all domestic ties, which are difficult to break. Therefore, please let your own glorious deeds be your compensation. So we've gone from that seed in the heart to the guru leading us through the devotional practices, to maybe we get to Krishna, I am yours. And when Krishna sees that we say, I am yours, he gives himself to us like the gopis. So the gopis then say, Krishna, you are mine. You are mine. And so I'll end with this because, in a way, this gives Krishna a very, as my guru would say, very beautiful problem. Because he says, like he says in that verse, I cannot repay you. I cannot repay that love. What am I to do? And so this is very brief, but I wanted to end with Gurudev's words. Gurudev writes this: Krishna has a problem, and it is the same problem that we have. What's the problem? He's not a devotee. What is a devotee? A devotee is one who loves God. And love means to have a particular relationship with God. Why is that our problem? Because in this sense, we are trying to become devotees. But why is that a problem for God? It's a problem because God doesn't have love of God. How does God lack that? Love of God is in the heart of his devotee, not in God's. God is the object of such love, the beloved, not the abode of such love, the lover of God, the devotee, aka the gopis. And why is that such a problem? It's a problem because to love is higher than to be loved. Let me read that again. It's a problem because to love is higher than to be loved. God is supposed to be the supreme enjoyer, but he lacks the highest pleasure. To love God and to lack love as the giver is a problem. What does God do about that? Surely he can make a solution. Yes. And that is the story of Sri Chaitanya. God becomes his own devotee to become complete in his experience of love. And not only does he become a devotee, but he becomes his highest devotee, Sri Radha, at the height of her love, in her deepest feelings of love, her moments of separation from Krishna. And so I'll just finish with going back over my little map. There's the Bhakti Lata Beach that somehow we served someone that had Bhakti, and it's implanted in us. And Krishna sees it and cultivates it by giving us Guru. And Guru takes our hand and leads us through the processes of devotional service. And hopefully we get this Atmanavivedahan, this complete surrender, where we say, Krishna, I am yours. And then Krishna is helpless. Then he's helpless, like he is with the gopis. He's helpless. Then Krishna says, okay, I am yours. And to experience that, he becomes Lord Chaitanya. And Lord Chaitanya begins this beautiful parampara that wends its way down to Bhakti, to Saraswati, that gives us Srila Prabhupada, that gives us our gurus today. And so thank you for your time and attention. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Jamuna Jaya. We are happy that we love you, and we're supposed to be more ecstatic than you, the one being loved. So that's a great, great statement. Thank you for pointing that out, Jamuna Jaya. Hey, Jai Nitai Prabhu, you're clapping your hands.
Thank you, Johnny. Thanks, Melody. Thanks, everybody.
Dear devotees, if you have questions, I mean, I'm speechless. I don't know about you, but I'm speechless.
These corrections.
Yeah, do you have any corrections, dear devotees?
Gail isn't here. I was like, oh, Gail's questions. And she was letting it rip yesterday. So when she has too many questions, oh, well, she's in Maharaj's class. She's in Guru Dev's class right now. That's what she's here.
Yeah.
Good for me.
Jamuna Jaya, is it okay to say to Krishna, I'm yours, with all these vices and limitations and deviations that we may currently have?
Yeah, because that's the beautiful thing. Krishna sees our inspired side. He doesn't dwell on that. He even understands, like in the Bhagavad Gita, he talks about, like, he sees that the embodied soul is struggling with the senses. He knows the struggle. Like we say, the struggle is real. Like Krishna knows the struggle is real. And he loves us like a parent, like, because that shows the love. When we love someone, we see their flaws. Of course we do. We're not blind, but we love them anyway, because that's what love is. Love then isn't love if, like, and I think that's the problem with too many relationships. It's like the minute you stop being Mr. and Mrs. Perfect, then you're like kick out the door. No one's perfect. Krishna knows this. So he just wants us to come. He's a come as you are dude. Come as you are. Like, he is partial to no one. Like he says in the Gita, and I always say that anybody is, I forget who in this class said that everyone is available. Everyone can take part in Krishna's impartiality at any time. At any time, you can turn, no matter who you are. Hope that's okay.
Thank you. Krishna sees our inspired side. I'm taking
Yeah,
this with your permission, Jamuna Jaya.
yeah. Now that's Guru Dev. That's straight up DDS. See the inspired side.
Nice. Venu Madhuri has her hand up.
Yes, forgive me for not having my camera on. I have one correction, Jamuna Jaya. You said no one is perfect. You're perfect.
Oh God, no.
Yes, you are absolutely perfect. I love this class. And I had a question. So the verse is about the spiritual master as our life and soul and worshipable deity. And I love this. And
Too.
the worshipable deity part, other than being a tongue twister, how do you think about that, practically speaking? How have you interpreted that in your relationship with your spiritual master? What advice can you give us there?
I'm glad you say that, because I had a little part and I edited that out of the class because I saw I was running long.
Ooh.
So yeah, so because we often hear spiritual master, life and soul, but in this verse, life and soul and worshipable deity. So I broke that down in my mind. I broke it down like this. We often say, can you just give this one life to Krishna? Just give this one, gives what this one life. So I just think of the life that I'm giving this life, like this incarnation is Jamuna Jaya Devi Dasi, and then soul. But we say that the spiritual master is eternal, like in the prayer that we say, lifetime after lifetime. So I also give my eternal soul to not just this life, which is finite, but eternality. I want to hook that onto you. And then the worshipful deity, what I was thinking of, there's so many things that in our society we almost like worship, right? We almost worship athletes and movie stars, and then like money. But even more, I find we're worshiping technology in a really weird way. I feel like literally the thing, it's called artificial intelligence. And we're like, oh, and it's not, we give it all our love, but it's not worthy of us. It's not worthy of our adoration, right? And so when I looked at that, my spiritual master is worthy of my adoration because of his character, because of his scholarship, because of the way I see him interact with every single person. He is worthy of my adoration. He is worthy of me getting down on my hands and knees, because this is a person who doesn't just like talk the talk, doesn't just know the verses and know the words. He lives it and has lived it for most of his life. So like we give our adoration to so many people and so many things, but the spiritual master is the thing. Like it is the beginning of life. It is waking up. So for me, that's how I interpreted it. You are worthy of my literally of my worship.
That's so helpful. And given that you do perform deity service, as you were saying, do we do we think about the particular word deity here as in a similar way, in the way that Krishna is so merciful that he manifests himself in the deity form? Is he also manifesting himself in the spiritual master? And maybe we think about the word deity in that sense.
Yes, absolutely. And it's all about the mercy. It is all about the mercy. And I do think that, I mean, without my spiritual master's mercy of giving me second initiation, I would not have the mercy that Krishna gives us by descending into the beautiful forms of Radha Murlidhar and Gaurachandra, right? It's all about the mercy. So absolutely. The Gurudev is so merciful, and it is like that thing of saying that Krishna gives us guru is his representation. I see Krishna Kumari wrote, the spiritual master is always engaged in the temple worship of Sri Sri Radha and Krishna. He also engages his disciples in such worship. They dress the deities in beautiful clothes and ornaments, clean their temple, and perform other similar worship with the Lord. Yeah, I offer my respectful obeisances onto the lotus feet of such a spiritual master. Yeah. So there, thank you, Krishna Kumari.
Haribol, thank you.
You're welcome. Oh, Karunanima is here. Oh, wow. Oh, thank you, Karunanima. That is, yeah. To love is deeper than to be loved. That's why we so often use the analogy of the mother and the child. Like a little baby, it was like a little baby with, little baby's getting everything done for it. Can't even pick up its head. Most of you know I perform in hospitals for children, so I was in the NICU with the tiniest babies yesterday. This baby was like literally as big as my fist and literally needs everything done for it. The mother is glowing. The staff is glowing because they have to do everything for that kid, literally. And that's the joy. And that is really the joy. Um, I see, yeah. Karina never said, reflecting on your points, one thought stood out to me as shown throughout the Bhagavatam. It does not glorify being loved, rather, it glorifies giving oneself, enduring separation, loving without energy, and loving without possession. Yeah. It really does. And I always think we know this because that's why it feels good to give, to love. This is a season of giving. I think Cloudshell's about to go, but that's why we want to give the gift. St. Francis got it right. It is better to give than receive. That is the joy. That's the joy. Happy New Year. Thanks, man. Here we go. So thank you, everybody. Here they come.
Thank you, Jamuna Jaya. Govinda Hari Krishna Bhajami Govinda
Lotus feet of our spiritual master are the only way by which we can obtain pure devotional service. I bow down to his lotus feet with great awe and reverence. By his grace, one can cross the ocean of material suffering and obtain the mercy of Krishna. My only wish is to have my consciousness purified by the words emanating from his lotus mouth. Attachment to the lotus feet is perfection, fills all desire. He opens my darkened eyes and fills my heart with transcendental knowledge. He is my Lord, birth after birth. From him ecstatic prana emanates, and by him ignorance joy. Big scriptures sing of this character. Our spiritual master, the ocean of mercy, the friend of the Lord and master of the devotees. O Master, be merciful unto us. Give us the shade of your lotus feet, and your fame be spread all over the free world. We take shelter at your lotus feet. Shiva Prabhupada ki jai.
Srila Prabhupada. Thank you, Janitai Prabhu.
Jaya Prabhu.
Jamuna Jaya, Hare Krishna. Back to you. Thank you so much. Wonderful class. There's a question in the chat. Sadhvi is asking the name of the book by
Oh,
Mahatma
okay.
Prabhu.
Yes, I'd be so Mahatma Das's book is he has two of them. It's called Living the Life of Bhakti 1 and 2. So that's where the I quoted from that one. And then my Guru's Dave's books is called, I'll put it in the chat, Monday Morning Greetings. So just make sure he's good. Yeah. It is a collection. Oh, okay. Oops. Why can't I send it? That's weird. Let me see. There we go. Up. It's not letting me do it. I don't know why. Oh, because it's 2 waiting room participants. Duh. Oh, sorry. And it is a collections of writings that he's done through over the years. So here it is. 2020 greetings. And the other one, yeah, is Mahatma Das's Living the Life of Bhakti 1 and 2. And they're really, really good in our community groups. We've gone through 2 of them. So yeah, I forget which one that line is. Thank you, Sadvi. Thank you, David Gifriti.
Thank you. Okay, Jamuna Jaya, final instruction of the year. Please make sure it's profound, uplifting, and inspiring, please.
That's a that's a big one. That's a big one. The final instruction of the year is, well, yeah, it's just really to this verse, I think. To take the spiritual master, to take the teachings as our life and soul and worshipable deities, and to what the verse says about to wake up, Jeev Jago, like let this be the year that we wake up. And Krishna, I always say, Krishna is always waiting to take our call. He's waiting, and the seed, because we're here, the seed is in us, and all we have to do, like it said, take 1 step towards him, he'll begin to take 1,000 steps towards us. And I always say I see this in my own life, but like I could see the trajectory of the map, the person telling me, and the book and the classes and the I look back and I can see he was gently going, go over here, go over here, go over here, go over here. Yeah, so listen for the call of the flute, I would say.
Thank you. So the final instruction of the year is Jiv Jago.
Jeev Jago, Jeev Jago, Jeev Jago.
Thank you very much. Dear devotees, we'd like to express our gratitude for your association on a daily basis, for your commitment to this class, for, like Mike said, for making this year so rich with your association, your love. Thank you. Would anyone like to speak? Final instruction, yes, Jiv Jago. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. All
Say
right.
it, kids.
Yeah. Where are the kids? And the kids will lead them.
Yes,
Okay.
here we go, guys.
Okay, I see Sage. I see them. I see Annabelle.
There they
Isaiah
go.
saying, okay, let's do it.
Something before
Here,
they
guys.
Hare Krishna, thank you for an amazing class. I'm so excited, and we're going to be coming down to New York tomorrow, and
Oh,
we'll be there until the 9th, and I'm so excited. I hope to see as many of you in person. Yeah, I'm really over the moon. So
yay! That's great news.
I was doing Isaiah and Annabelle.
yeah.
Yay!
Oh,
I look forward to meeting you in person, Isaiah and Annabelle.
okay. Sunday Radha
Shall we
say
do it?
unmute. Yeah. Thank you. Let's go.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama
Mama.
Hare Hare.
Sweet. Thank you very much. Happy New Year, everybody. Thank you for
Thank you, Hare
your
Krishna.
association. All we can say. Thank you, Jamuna Jaya. Thank you,
Thank
Srila
you.
Prabhupada. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you,
See you next
everyone. Happy
year.
New Year. So grateful for
Happy
all
New
of
Year.
you. Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
Next year.
See you next year.
See you next year.